It all starts now. It all starts right here. It all starts this moment. LSUOdyssey.com. Back in the saddle. Friday live. How's it going, everybody? What are we doing? We got to get on an LSU hat here. Let's do it, bro. Let's do it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. How's everybody doing on this Friday? Really awful to see what's going on in North Carolina. I mean, it just keeps getting worse. The more that gets reported, the more it comes out. We've got a few people there who near and dear to us who we didn't even know what the hell was going on with them for almost like 4 days, 5 days, something like that. It was ridiculous. And same thing probably goes for everybody who knows someone there. In Western North Carolina, Tennessee area wreaked havoc, and these people need help desperately. They're not going to get it from the federal government. They're barely getting any of this aid from the federal government. They need help, and you're seeing a lot of like private helicopter pilots going in there and dropping in supplies that FEMA won't. And I just wanted to take a second on our platform. I don't give a damn what anyone else is doing. On our platform to tell these heroes, you guys are absolute American patriots. We love you. God bless your souls. You are amazing people for doing this for the people of North Carolina. Really, the fact that they mobilized in such a way, took off how many, how much money they're putting on their own from their own wallets into this situation. Who knows? Maybe they can afford it. Maybe it isn't too big of a sacrifice for them in all actuality. I think it is. I think it's incredible. And they're not just risking money and time and all this stuff. They're risking their lives. It's incredible. They're patriots. And I want to honor those people right now. And I want to tell them thank you. And I want to tell them that it is incredible what they're doing for this country. They're already outpacing the government and actually assisting and helping the relief effort. And it's just quite incredible. Elon Musk also giving people Starlink access to his Starlink internet. That's fantastic. Anyone who's able to do whatever to help, that's fantastic here, because these people need it desperately. We're talking Katrina-esque devastation, which is something we heard very early on, and people were kind of like, ooh, that's kind of crazy to throw that word around. Don't be throwing that type of comparison around. And sure enough, the death toll is right there. The devastation's right there. And it's Western North Carolina. It's just crazy. Places you didn't expect that type of stuff to happen. We wanted to start off the show bringing that to attention, because it's quite a sobering, devastating thing that I think everybody has to be talking about right now and focusing on, because it's despicable. It's despicable to see how our government has reacted. Once again, they're giving how much money to Ukraine, how much money to anyone who crosses that border illegally. For some weird reason, they get more money than an American citizen. And that's not some, don't paint me in some corner as you're this voter or that voter. Now, I'm literally simply someone who's just saying this is unsustainable, this whole thing. We need to fix this whole thing. This country needs help. I'm not making a political stump or statement for anybody, but this country desperately needs help. And one great thing, though, out of all the bullshit that's going around in 2024, there are still human beings who are willing to drop everything for extreme selflessness, like these helicopter pilots. I salute these guys. I salute first responders of all sorts who've gone and donated their time. Some have quit their jobs to go do that. I want to see a world where, in America, where big corporations go and hire those people after they've quit their jobs. They've gone and they've helped people in these relief moments. Okay, well now they should be getting the ultimate jobs in this country, don't you think? They're the people who are deserving of the ultimate that this country has to offer. Just my opinion. And I think companies that hire people like that with that type of character who've done that type of stuff for this country, they deserve tax breaks and make it an incentive for these corporations to do it. Anyway, it's just very insane. You're seeing a lot of children getting killed in this thing. It's been very, very, very nasty, and our hearts go out to everybody involved in that situation because it is just it's one of the worst in this country's history. And I don't know how the surrounding communities are going to try and play football this weekend, but they're going to try and they're going to do it and they're going to move on. They're going to be able to move forward. They're not going to forget what's happened this last week, but I'm sure they will always be able to move forward. And so help them do that, help them rebuild. Let's make it happen. LSUOdyssey.com, Friday Live. I don't know how we can segue from something like that to talking about football, but I guess we'll try and do that. LSU have a bye this week, and there's 2 off weeks this season. Kind of interesting. This week, and then I swear to God, the week before Alabama once again is off as well. Am I wrong about that? Let's look that up. Look at that. Look who's now like the star of the team on LSU's own website for the Path advertising. Whitweeks, a guy that Matt House benched for no fucking reason. Idiot Matt House to bench that kid. Okay, 28th. Yep. Okay, Ole Miss by 19th, 26th. Once again, there is yet again, we have 2 buys this season. I don't know if every team gets that, if I'm just late to that, but presented by Albertsons, LSU versus Oklahoma, presented by Albertsons. What the fuck? Presented by Coca-Cola, Alabama. They put the main big corporate sponsor right there. I wonder what Ole Miss's was. Our Lady of the Lake Hospital for Ole Miss, Cox for UCLA, McDonald's for Nichols. Good God, guys. Good God. So, yeah, LSU has 2 buys this season. Very strange. Cole Adams says, proud that the Cajun Navy was on the scene since last Friday. Man, I love the Cajun Navy. And that's why we've always, when we do these fundraisers, donate to the Cajun Navy and their links right there. In fact, let's put them back up. Let's get those things back up here. Give me a sec. Yeah, the Cajun Navy, wow. Beasts. I mean, they go into the water that no human wants to go anywhere near. They go on the missions to save people that no one's going near. Like, not even the Coast Guard goes near where the Cajun Navy goes. They're just badasses. Here we go. This takes you right to the Cajun Navy's donation page. Cajun Navy Relief ReleafMed.com/donate. That is the hyperlink to get you there. Cole Adams bringing up the Cajun Navy, and then I in turn putting up that link. Thank you for bringing up the Navy, Cajun Navy, so I could put that up. Because yes, they were killing on the scene, just killing it. I shouldn't even use that word, just killing on the scene. They were saving a lot of people on the scene, which is the opposite of killing it. But you know what I'm saying? They were delivering the goods for the people that, in a moment where the government has let them down big time, state and federal. We got a comment from James. I'm not sure who this is, but he says, do you expect Chris Hilton, Zy Alexander, and Caden Durham all to play versus Ole Miss? I don't with all. This thing with Chris Hilton's bone bruise, those are some of the most unpredictable injuries possible. And I understand people's aggravation with Chris Hilton. I understand why fans would think this is a guy who just doesn't want to play. He's just sitting out. He's being a wuss. Whatever you're thinking, if you have a negative view on it, but really, we're not in Chris's body. We're not to know what's going on. Here's the thing about that injury: you see him walking around, you see him catching a few footballs, and you're thinking, why the hell can't he be in the game? It's because those injuries, those bone bruises, especially on the ankle or bottom of the foot type of area, man, it's just the pain tolerance gets almost uncontrollable the more you're pushing off of it, getting leverage off of it in the middle of games, really moving quick, cutting, stuff like that. It's gonna wear and tear it down by the second, probably the second quarter. So they had to keep resting him until that pain is just not going anymore. And I don't know. I thought he could probably go for a few snaps in some of these games, and why not use him? And yeah, his bone bruise isn't going to heal, and it's definitely not going to heal from playing him, but he could probably get over it and get through it game by game by game. You know what I'm saying? If you manage it, manage the pain, just him being on the sidelines, what's the point? Especially if he's hurt all fall. He's feeling the pain on the ankle all fall. At some point, he's got to play. At some point, I really do believe Brian Kelly will say, "We got to do this, man. We need you. Come on." And I'm not really to blame Chris Hilton on this whole thing. He's probably going through a lot more pain than we can understand. And it seems like a lot of people have forgotten. Chris Hilton was exciting the entire fan base before many kind of suddenly poo-pooed him when he got hurt and kind of, hey, he's not wanting to play. And it became kind of this huge thing. When really, in reality, Chris, I'm sure if he was out there, would have been fine and would have contributed well. Who's to know right now? Because it's, once again, up in the air. But at the same time, Chris was trending in an unbelievable direction throughout fall camp. That cannot be denied. He was absolutely brilliant out there, making catches like this, just making these crazy highlight reel catches. Of course, an ad comes flying up right when I share that. Making these highlight reel catches, looking brilliant, looking like he's going to be that number one guy, or pushing Kyron Lacey to be that number one guy. But in reality, second he gets hurt, everyone's just like, he's done. And I get it. He's unavailable. He's not. But here's the thing. At some point, he's going to be. And at some point, he's going to catch a bomb over an entire defense and silence all of that noise that's been hitting his way for the last, what it's been, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever. And I just feel it's a little disingenuous when everybody was like, "Oh, Chris Hilton's gonna be so good. Chris Hilton's gonna be so good. Chris Hilton's gonna be so good. Oh my God, catching all these touchdowns, all these mossing all these guys in practice. Oh, he's gonna be so good." And then he gets hurt and he's unavailable, and he sucks. He was never gonna be good anyway. It's just funny to see the comments from the same people who will just completely throw him away, completely throw Harold Perkins away. Like, oh, we didn't need them. Who cares? They didn't really try that with Jacoby and Guillory, though. They all admitted that was such a nasty loss. But you get what I'm trying to say. Zy Alexander, concussion. And he's been in concussion protocol, and it seems like he's going to be back. But remember, Zy Alexander misses a lot of games at LSU so far. His availability has been really sketchy. Okay. So I'm not about to say Zy Alexander is a lock for the Ole Miss game. But chill. But I think he's had time enough to heal and to get, everything back. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think from this concussion that he should be out for, half of a game and then 2 weeks later an entire game after that. That'd be crazy. Caden Durham, the dislocated toes. I've heard everything from if they broke the toes back in place during the game on the sidelines, which they did, he's going to have a lot easier of a recovery, a lot quicker of a recovery. But here's the thing. I've heard, he should be good to go from 5 days from now, blah, 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 blah. And then I've heard it could be 2 to 3 weeks recovery. It is really kind of just person to person with dislocated toes. It's any type of dislocation, really, it's person to person and just how the injury happened and where and, the significance of that location to that player, to that athlete. Caden Durham, that left foot, that's like a plant foot where I see him a lot of times making these moves from. And I'm watching it closely. He's using it as the lead foot, that left foot, a lot of the time to make his moves. That's something that's going to really affect Caden Durham if he can't use it. I think he should be okay. You've heard Kelly. He seemed relaxed about it. Ever the politician, but he seemed relaxed about it. I expect Caden Durham to play in that game because he's just a boss and he's a badass. And I expect him to play. And I expect him to have a good game in that game. But how much can he play? How much can he contribute? That's up in the air right now. We've got to see how he practices, as we've said in our subscriber shows before this last week, talking about his injury with some of the information we've been able to cobble together. With the dislocated toes, it's anything from 2 to 3 weeks to a few days. So, he'll be ready in a week, blah, 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 blah. I don't trust either extreme. We have to see how he practices. That's it. Until then, we know nothing about Caden Durham's injury. It's speculation from there. It's just we know what happened. We know how he got hurt. We know what he's hurt with. We have to see how he practices. He's a running back, one of the most physical positions, if not the most physical position on the field. You're smashed every time, every play, everywhere. And so it's just how can he absorb the blows? How can he adapt to the pain? And all that, I think that's to be judged later when you see him going through practice and how he kind of goes through practice. So right now, CJ Daniels is someone you should be saying, is he going to play against Ole Miss? And he's likely out. I would say 100% he's out for that game. He had a torn meniscus. He had surgery to repair it. Yes, it's bye week. He has a bye week to recover. unless they really want to risk CJ Daniels' knee and potentially tear his ACL for the second time in his career, which he was really emotionally distraught and scared of happening this last time, and was actually relieved he's only just out for a month. I would be too. I don't think they're going to risk this young man. He's a senior. He has a lot to play for in this NFL draft. You know, to actually just be present in the NFL draft, he'll do fine, injury free as well. But you get him hurt here, trying to take it up to the limit, and his knee's already banged up going in. Like, I just think it's a recipe for disaster. You've got Mason Taylor, you got Kyron Lacy, you got Aaron Anderson. You got Xavion Thomas, someone who's barely even been fed. You've got to feed these guys. Kyle Parker as well, someone we talked about on our show the other day. It looks like he is out for the season with an arm injury. And that's something that came from his own words. We are yet to 100% confirm that. But every single angle I look at this from multiple sources echo the original source. So it looks highly likely that Kyle Parker he's at least going to be out a significant amount of time. Maybe he could come back at the end of the season if we make a run in the CFP or something. James asks, do you think we beat Ole Miss? Well, I mean, that's kind of just putting it right out there. LSU versus Ole Miss. Man. You know, this game, I think what really interests me about this game is the fact that Ole Miss does have a loss. I think if Ole Miss had come into this game without a loss, unblemished, losing to us would not be the end of the world for them, right? But now, all of that honeymoon that Lane Kiffin had all offseason where his minions are online, like, just feasting and crying, and Lane's going to win a title for Ole Miss. We're going to finally get to an SEC title game. Oh, my God, we're finally going to deliver. Oh, we're finally going to win a championship. Ole Miss is going to rise again. The South's going to win the Civil War. Oh, my God, we're going to rise again. Those hillbilly pecker fuckers for Ole Miss fans, it was so fun to watch their tears as that field goal went wide clear to Barcelona. That was so off. And Lane Kiffin usually chokes in big games. That's just a fact. So really, man, it's all about Sage, chill. It's all about LSU's pass rush. If LSU can get to Jackson Dart, deny the football to Trey Harris, really rattle that young man like they did in 2022, and some points in 2023, in which on those drives when LSU were able to actually get to Jackson Dart, they were extremely successful drives as far as LSU's defense, where you're actually forcing 3 and outs and actually getting the football back to Jaden Daniels at that point. Now you have to get the football back to Garrett Nussmeier, and you have to start him off on a clean slate. You can't give him some 14-0 start. Our defense, they seem like they have their assignments more clear now. They know exactly what each other's going to do. There's no second guessing. There's no over complex structure with Harold Perkins. Now they can kind of just pin their ears back and just attack. And I don't know about you, but I really it blew my mind live when I was watching the game, but then it really sunk in even more watching it again over the South Alabama game. How much better of a player Greg Penn III is with this setup. I don't know if it's I don't know if Greg Penn III is actually improved minus Harold Perkins. If he has, it's not because Harold Perkins there's something wrong with him or something. It's because maybe a lot of the things Harold Perkins was doing from the linebacker position, from the star position, are stuff that Greg Penn III wants to do and can do and should do on the field. And maybe can do even better than Harold Perkins. You know what I'm saying? At least from a prototypical linebacking standpoint. And he almost seems like he's just been unleashed, like he's just been let free. You know? It seems like Greg Penn III is a different player right now. I think LSU have too many weapons for them to cover. But here's the thing: if LSU cannot pressurize Jackson Dart, and we let him sit back there and get Trey Harris going, a Louisiana guy as well, against our secondary, you can't cover anybody, and then that starts opening up holes in the running game, and it starts stretching the linebackers, and Penn the third's having to go, sideline to sideline every play. Whit Weeks is having to go sideline to sideline every single play, and it's up tempo and it's nonstop. And you got your defense already huffing and puffing 2 quarters in. And I know that's how it's gone the last 2 games against Ole Miss. And I think actually 3 of the last 4 against Ole Miss. We cannot start that way this season. We can't. I mean, and we probably will. It seems like it's a hallmark of the Brian Kelly era. But I just don't think we'll get away with it again. And we didn't get away with it last year. We thought we could get away with a slow start and kind of get our way back in the game, trade some points, thought it would be fine. We'll get some stops here and there. And then our offense wasn't perfect for just 1 or 2 drives, and the game was over. Because you had to be perfect with that defense. Luckily, this defense has been so much better than I anticipated without Harold Perkins. And, this is the defense that I said would be a top 60 defense going into this season. I said Blake Baker will take LSU's defense in his first season into a top 60 defense. Let's prove that. Let's prove that we said that here. I want to let me get that. Let me just search that from my phone real quick and send it to myself. But we said Blake Baker would have a top 60 defense, and he is already on the cusp of doing that. And if you were to tell me he's going to do it without Harold Perkins and Jacobian Guillory, I would have called you. No, bro, no, come on, stop. Let's chill here, okay? Let's just stop right there. I would be like adamantly like, no, dude, no. I wouldn't have accepted that. I really wouldn't have. I would have thought, loose cannon, you're nuts. Come on. There's no way you're going to get over all those injuries. Stop, Turns out Turns out, David correct. Okay. Here was our video from before. Where we go? God, I keep getting off of it. Sorry. Here we go. And Dan, Seiji. Here is us saying.
I'm going to say it right now. We're not saying this is the steel curtain. We're not saying this is a defense that's going to get a shutout every other game. We're not saying this is a defense that is going to shut every single opponent down and hold them under 20 points. We're not saying anything like that. In fact, there is going to be mistakes. There is going to be breakdowns in communication, in coverage. There's going to be times where we're really questioning if the defensive line can do what it needs to do to win games. Can that defensive tackle front hold up? Do we have enough depth there? Do we have enough guys? Do we have enough bodies? And a lot of those questions are going to be answered early, really. But across the season, as far as the depth question, you're going to have to answer that every single week. And so LSU, this is going to be an ongoing thing defensively as far as depth in certain places. However, this vibe, this Louisiana ass-kicking vibe is permeating throughout this defense. And as I just said, it's from Blake Baker on down. But this is going to be a top 60 defensive unit. We're going to be a lot better this season. Not only that was just obviously going to be the case on the face of it, but I'd say somewhere like 59th, 55th, right in there, maybe 63. At the worst, like we're going to be markedly better.
All right. Well, okay. When I tell you I said something in the past, I know that people can go back and look and see if I actually said it. So we're gonna prove it to you and just put it out there. We called this. LSU would have a top 60 defense. LSU are in that area. But if you were to tell me, do it without Harold Perkins, Jacoby and Guillory, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. And it's so damn impressive from Blake Baker. You knew he'd be good. Cole Adams says, I would like to see Jelani Watkins in the slot go take the top off the defense if Chris Hilton can't go. That's a great point. And wearing Chris Hilton's former jersey number as well, 17. I think he's back 100% now as well. Cole Adams says, I don't know if Ole Miss will win tomorrow, but they will certainly get beat up physically. That has to work in LSU's favor. Yes, and it could be actually their quarterback getting beat up physically by that defensive front, too. Think about that, too. If Jackson Dart gets savaged tomorrow by that defensive line, I mean, look at it. That defensive line almost hurt Garrett Nussmeier. Just think of what if they do something similar and really give Jackson Dart a good pummeling. That's something that could be very interesting to watch. And as we've said before, this is a very embarrassing game for college football, a very shameful game. Two of the worst fan bases, the worst programs in the country facing off. South Carolina and not Kentucky. South Carolina and Ole Miss, Ole Piss. South Carolina and Ole Miss. It can't get any worse than this. I mean, how many SEC title games between the two? How many SEC title games? I think it's got to be 0 for SC for South Carolina, right? Let me look it up. I think it's 0. If it's any, it's like 1, right? Sage, chill. Ooh, okay. So 2010, they played in the SEC championship, right? Let's see here. Let's take a look at that. So it would have been Auburn, South Carolina in that SEC title game. 2010 SEC title game. This is what I do for my articles. Basically, I'm like digging through everything. What was that? When did that happen? What went down? Oh yes, that game. It was Auburn, South Carolina, and 56-17. That was, of course, Cam Newton's coronation. Here's the thing. It's very funny that in the two weirdest SEC title games of the last 20 years, really, it's been Auburn and a weird team. Auburn and Missouri in one title game in 2013, and then Auburn, South Carolina, and both are just full of points. Auburn scoring 50-plus points. Just crazy. Getting out to a big lead. It's nuts. Both Auburn teams who went to a title game. That Auburn team in 2013 under Chiswick not Chiswick, and under Gus Malzahn should have won that title game against Florida State. I don't know how they didn't win that game. That was people forget about that. That was the last BCS National Championship bowl game between Florida State and Auburn. That game was fantastic in the Rose Bowl, right? That game was an epic. Auburn and Florida State. That was the season when Auburn upset Alabama with the field goal return. Jerry Zimmerman says, may be wrong, but I think incorporating the rest in passing game is more important than Hilton stretching the field. Having both would be sexy as fuck. Of course. Oh, you mean the running backs in the passing game? See, that's the thing. I'm like, what are you talking about? The rest? I guess I thought you meant like the rest of the receivers, but I'm like, what do you mean? The running backs. So, okay. This is why you guys got to make sure your comments are on point. So when I post them up here and the spelling is right, people actually understand what you mean, especially me. It said, you said may be wrong, but I think incorporating the running backs in the passing game is more important than Hilton stretching the field. Having both will be sexy as fuck. You really need both. And I don't think you're going to beat some defenses just having, some running backs catching passes in the flat. Being able to break one for 71 on the first play is not going to happen against some of these SEC defenses. It's just not going to. Not saying that it's not going to be open, not going to be possible to make big plays, not going to be possible to have guys show out, stuff like, or running backs go off in the passing game. I'm simply saying you really do need both. In my opinion, Jerry, you want Jerry Zimmerman, Mr. Zimmerman. I'm telling you, Mr. Zimmerman, we need both. We need Chris going deep. And we need Juwan Johnson, Caden, Caleb, all to rack up the yards in the flats. Really, I've been saying it. I want to see them feed Mason Taylor. If Brian Kelly loves Mason Taylor so much, then feed him the fucking ball and let him go off against Ole Miss. Because you think Trey Amos is going to be able to cover him in the Ole Miss game? No one's going to be able to cover him in that Ole Miss game. And really, Mason Taylor leads the team in yards after catch right now, guys. Our tight end leads the team in yards after catch. What does that tell you? That tells you that your receivers are not making enough big plays. Kyron Lacy, yes, he has 5 touchdowns. Everybody else is 2 or 1. And really, our best receiver has been Aaron Anderson. One of the guys only has 2 touchdowns. So, C.J. Daniels hasn't even gotten into the end zone. C.J. Daniels, I think his biggest play was like 35 yards, and it was kind of just a catch over the middle, gets tackled immediately. We haven't seen him really stretch the field and go off. We haven't seen Chris Hilton stretch the field and go off. Chris Hilton's been hurt, hasn't been able to do it. CJ Daniels has been on the field, hasn't been able to do it. Now there's a question of, CJ Daniels, Kyle Parker are both hurt. Is Chris Hilton still also hurt? That's 3 big receivers. As you mentioned his name earlier, Jelani Watkins, Xavier Thomas as well. These guys, Xavier Thomas is going to definitely get more of the football then, for sure. But also Jelani Watkins, the freshman, is going to be in the picture. He has to be. Mike Prima says, hopefully our secondary can hold its own against Ole Miss. I think we will beat them in a close game next Saturday. I'm telling you right now, our secondary can't hold its own against Ole Miss. If we let it become like a quarterback duel, I'm going to bet on Nussmeier just because I love that kid, and I bet on him to win against anybody. But it would be very crazy game, and it could go any which way because LSU secondary are so poor at times. When we don't get the balance right, when we put guys in all these wacky positions, put guys in places where they don't really get the best out of them, like you've got some brilliant weapons there at the back end for secondary, and I just don't think I've seen Corey Raymond, Jake Olson really take advantage of who they have yet. I'm glad that they've kept Deshaun Spears playing. I think that's great. Sage Ryan at free safety or not, not at star, not at corner, at free safety or possibly nickel, but most likely at free safety. There's certain places you just can't move guys to. Javian Toviano at star or corner, yes. At safety, no. You got to be smart about this with the safety, or guys get cooked. Major Burns playing safety again can't happen, and we know it's going to because Brian Kelly continues to say he's one of our most consistent players. He's one of our best players. It's like, yeah, he puts up 7 or 8 tackles a game, but he also has allowed 8 passing touchdowns in the last 19 appearances. 8 passing touchdowns in the last 19 appearances. And guess what? 8 of them have come in the last 2 seasons. Or should I say a season and 5 games. He allowed 6 passing touchdowns in 2022. 2023. 6 passing touchdowns, Major Burns. 6 thrown over his head. He's allowed 2 thus far this season. And I love the heart that Major Burns plays with. I love the intensity he plays with, the desire he plays with. But man, we've got to find a role for him, a package for him that lets him go up and rough someone up, but not be in coverage. Even he knows he's bad in coverage. Jerry Zimmerman, Mr. Zimmerman. He says, percentage-wise, how hard do we need to blitz Dart? I mean, probably like 35, 65, really, I think it's got to be a lot, but it's got to be mixed in. It's got to be right. It's got to be controlled. It's got to be calculated. I think you also dare him to beat you with his arm, and then you disguise a blitz out of nowhere. So he thinks, okay, you're playing a soft zone, and then someone's come flying in there. That's usually stuff that he takes a lot longer to identify than just an edge rusher coming off the edge. And still, I don't think he'll be able to handle Braden Swinson. I don't think that. Here's the thing that I also noticed. Ole Miss's interior on both the O-line and the D-line are weak as fuck. I know they've got some names, like a Walter Nolan. Everyone is after him. I get it, including LSU. He's playing pretty well, Walter Nolan. Outside of him, they're getting nothing from anybody on each interior. LSU could have their way with Ole Miss in this game if they play to their ultimate, if they play to their optimum. And really, we've got to survive these injuries that we've had, and we've got to see guys step up in those spots. We've got to have guys step up at corner, at receiver especially, possibly at running back. We've got to have guys step up everywhere. I also wanted to, before we ended this show, I wanted to get into one last thing, okay? One last thing. I'm hearing about Bryce Underwood and this whole, he's going after Bryce Underwood. Portnoy's going to give money. He's going to give $3 million, $4 million to Bryce Underwood, whatever the kid wants. He's going to pay him. Here's the thing. If Bryce Underwood could already be tempted by multi-million-dollar NIL deals to go to Michigan, I think he would have done it during his cycle year, which was literally the year Michigan won a national championship. Like, if you were a Michigan fan and you were to hear that, hey, we're going to win a national championship again, the first time since 97, we're going to win a national championship. It's going to be in 2023. And they told you that in like 2022 or something. You would be like, holy shit, we for sure are going to get Bryce Underwood then. We're for sure going to get that Belleville kid. Hell yeah. This is insane. This is going to be the start of a dynasty. Insane because actually he didn't even visit Michigan once in the entire season. And since he had last visited Michigan, he visited LSU like 3 or 4 times, something like that. People are worried Portnoy is going to be forking over the cash and he's going to get blah, blah, blah. No. Michigan quarterbacks are throwing for 5.8 yards per attempt. They have 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I think they've thrown for like 400 total yards of offense. Sharon Moore, Dave Portnoy, Charlize Theron, Michael Stipe, Michael Bay, Michael Scott from The Office, whoever you want, Willy Wonka, Morgan Freeman, all of them aren't going to get through to Bryce Underwood. He's going to go to LSU. Trust me, if you understood the deal that is set in place right now for this young man, you would be a lot more secure in your feelings about, let's just say this. If that deal is broken, it's going to be an NIL firestorm unlike anyone, and an NIL scandal that will make the Nevada thing look like kindergarten, look like kindergarten cop. Okay, so realize that something has been agreed to, something substantial, something that really makes it worthwhile. And here's the thing. Why wouldn't you want to go to LSU, where we treat our quarterbacks like that, and our quarterbacks do that? They lead the country in yards passing. They lead the country in touchdowns and completion percentage. Garrett Nussmeier is right on the heels of all of these numbers right now. Fantastic performances, throwing bullets over the middle. I mean, this guy looks like Jean-Claude Van Damme in an action movie. He's so many bullets coming out of him. It's insane what he's doing throwing the football in just his first season. The way that he can see the field, it's off the chain. And he's still just at the beginning of that development, Garrett Nussmeier. And you've seen Jaden Daniels, of course. You've seen Joe Burrow, but even someone like Max Johnson, who like had 1 year at LSU where he was like a starter, and he like set all these records with Kayshon Boutte. Okay, they were unbelievable, right? He beat Florida on the road, Ole Miss. Like he had a couple good games there, Max Johnson. And then you've seen how good Max Johnson is at other schools. So my point is that LSU have been a definitive quarterback school for quite some time here, since at least 2019, 2018. But I mean, you also don't forget Zach Mettenberger, 2013, his brilliant season. That cat went off, and that cat deserves a ton of love. That 2013 season was so much fun. Juice, Landry, Odell Beckham Jr. making one-handed catches out there like it was, choreography. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. LSU are in the midst of being QBU right now. And you saw it on Monday Night Football. You see it at the draft where you got number 2 overall picks, number 1 overall picks. And people forget Jamarcus Russell was a number 1 overall pick. And where did he go to? LSU. So people forget LSU have actually been doing this for a while. We've been doing it for a while. Rohan Davey. People forget Rohan Davey. Like there are these badass LSU quarterbacks throughout history. Tommy Hodson. And what I love, in some weird way, because of this era of ultra electric LSU quarterbacks, it's almost like shined a light on the past quarterbacks at LSU who have at least carried their weight and delivered for LSU. A guy like Zach Mettenberger is going to get that love, and it's very interesting, and it's because some of these new quarterbacks like make it okay to appreciate the quarterback history more. But really, it's something special. And if you're Bryce Underwood, why the hell wouldn't you want to do it at LSU? LSU has proven we can do this with a dual threat quarterback. We can do this with a pass first, bombs away quarterback. We can do this with anybody. And it can be an old guy, Steve Ensminger, calling plays, a young guy in Joe Brady, even a first-time play caller in Joe Sloan, who hasn't had the best season so far yet. It's his first season. There's going to be some warts. He has still delivered an epic season for Nuss. All right, guys, getting late. For this little guy, for this little dude, and this is my one night I have to put him to bed. It's gonna be crazy. I have to put him to bed. It's nuts. So I'm gonna get dinner ready and let him kind of get tired out and go nuts. So everybody, thank you for watching. You're awesome. This is way cool. Jarrah, Mr. Zimmerman, definitely come back. Cole Adams, King Cole Adams, about damn time he came back. Mike Prima is always in the house. Badass. Chris Melder, we missed you, brother. Jamer, we missed you. Nurse Court, we missed you. Everyone, thank you so much. The Seiji says, hello. Can you say hello, Seiji? Yes. You say bye? Take it easy, everybody.